Can you tell us a little bit about the research and the R&D actually that is currently going on in Canada, I mean at Thales?
Sure. There's actually a lot going on in Canada. I don't know if you know anything about Thales's presence here, but there are more than 1,800 staff spread across 5 offices in Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec. Here in Toronto, we're actually the competence center for urban rail signaling. That means there's several hundred engineers, probably more than 600, focused on development and project deployment for mass transit, autonomous train being one of them. In Montreal, we recently launched Cortaix, which is an AI institute. And in fact, in Quebec City as well, there's a link there with HMI, cyber, and big data. And we're combining a number of those different areas together to do the development for our next platforms. So in addition to Cortaix, there's a 5G initiative that has just been launched publicly. So in fact, here in Canada, just as a background, it's a great place for innovation. There's a thriving AI ecosystem. In Montreal, we have Joshua Bengio, who has an institute in the same complex where we have Cortaix. And here in Toronto, we have the Vector Institute, led by Dr. Jeffrey Hinton. So we actually have collaborations with both of the institutes, and we're using the capabilities of AI and computer vision and stochastic algorithms and processing to add new capabilities to the platform that we have today for CBTC.
So, Walter, what can you tell us about the autonomous train platform development? I mean, the one you are involved in.
Well, it's actually really interesting. It's very similar to autonomous cars, except that we're constrained to guideways. So it may be on rail, it may be a concrete guideway for a people mover. And of course, we're moving many people. The brake rate for mass transit vehicles is a lot poorer than cars, so the technology has to take that into account. So there are driverless systems today, and we have quite a few of those systems deployed around the world. But essentially, they're using technology that has trackside infrastructure and central computers that regulate and separate trains. So if you lose communications, the trains come to a stop. So we're bringing in autonomous capabilities to allow trains to sense their surroundings and be able to stay moving even in the event of failures. You still want to have that central regulation so that you optimize the movements and get the best number of people through the system, but you want to add those autonomous capabilities through sensors like LiDAR, radar, and cameras. But what you also have to do is come up with a safety critical architecture. And I think the automotive market lags a bit in really understanding all of the implications of being a high safety integrity level, and that's the challenge for us today.
So there are many exciting developments, right, in the field of autonomous mobility. So where do you see this industry heading, Walter?
Well, I see a progressive evolution of the technology. First of all, we see in 2 areas, control centers where there are increasing capabilities, but on the train. And we see more and more AI capabilities coming into that. For the train, for detection of obstacles, and there could be all kinds of obstacles. Here you see in Vancouver, those are 2 cougars on the track, believe it or not. So you get classification problems that can be just as diverse as the automotive market. And so there's going to be more and more AI. There is the challenge of figuring out how to make it safe, and that's where we're working with Cortaix on explainable AI to bound the problem. But in the future, control centers will have more AI, first for decision support, for preventative maintenance, but for operational support. I see social media coming into it really because in a smart city, if we can get more and more information about the movement of people, their travel intentions, we can start to optimize the entire transit system. And so I really see this progression to a future where mass transit still plays a key role just because of the capacity that you get with mass transit, but it very closely linked with other forms of transit, the last mile, I guess I should say in Europe, the last kilometer of track. But it will come together with intelligent control centers. So basically, those intelligent agents will be appearing everywhere throughout the system. So it's actually a super interesting, challenging number of years that we have with our roadmaps.
Thank you.
And I think, frankly, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Just, you wanted to add something, Walter. We still have
just a
1
final
minute.
comment to say I think we're going to see these autonomous features in mass transit before you see the same level of autonomy on the roads.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Walter, and for joining us live from Toronto. Thank you very much.